wonderful job, the radio station, so many other radio stations letting us talk. I think we have helped, and I think we're going to win. But if we don't win, we will still be the great supporters of Donald J. Trump. And thank you, Jake.
Yeah,
You've done it
Kathy,
all.
before you go, Dan Bongino said something yesterday about Donald Trump's ability to market. Because if you're a businessman, you obviously have to know how to market yourself and your business, and how politics is marketing. Listen to this. This is what he said.
Trump's biggest media own yet. The garbage truck at the rally with the vest, just absolute classic Donald J. Trump. I mean, you can't beat this guy for marketing. Marketing in politics is no different than marketing anywhere else. You're selling a product, that product is you.
And again, he is selling himself. And whether it's in a garbage truck, at a drive-through for McDonald's, or standing as he did yesterday in Nevada with the family of a Marine veteran who was murdered, Kathy.
Jake, who called, I think these people that have come in this country, in a way, we're going to need some of those people because our women do not want to have babies. So in the future, we're going to have people come in this country, and we all realize that, and we can't put our head in the sand and say the population is going down because our own children are not having babies.
Kathy, let me ask you a question. Would you support sending American troops into Mexico to destroy the cartels?
No, but on our border, if we corrected our border...
Well, the cartels are inside our country right now, but they're being funded and supported from Mexico, obviously. So I'm asking you if...
from these countries are in this country right now to take us down.
Yeah, what I'm saying is if it becomes necessary because they're getting their funding and logistical support from...
that's something, Jake, that I am not smart enough to say. All I know is I look at these three beautiful grandsons, and maybe they'll take my granddaughters, too, to fight wars. I really don't want it. I would hope we never allowed this, but it happened. Trump warned us this would happen, and it happened. 20 million people, we do not know who they are in this country. They will, because we are soft. We're a soft country right now. They could take us down from within. I do not have an answer for that, though. I want to protect these grandchildren, though.
I understand, Kathy. I understand. And it's my feeling that if the election does go to Trump and the maggots at Marxist state media are forced to acknowledge that Trump won the election 4 days from today, there'll be a massive departure on their own of illegals who have come here and are not going to want to have to face forced deportation, which they know is coming their way. All right, let's go to line 2. Meineke doing Car Care Right Talk lines. Bob from Fenwick Island. Fenwick, Bob, good morning. Have you voted yet, sir?
Good morning. Yes, I did vote, Jay.
All right, hold on, Bob. I'm going to put you on hold and just pipe you through this one. Okay, push the red button. Okay, go ahead. So you have voted already?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Sir, I have. Well, I'm calling this morning because I think what's going to happen to the Demcoms is everything is going to backfire on them down the road.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is January 6th, with those good patriots that were over there in Washington, what this government has done to some of those people. Maybe there's a few of them that deserve to be in jail, but what they've done to those people is unconscionable. And what I'm saying, Jake, is that when we take the country back, and the next time you see Antifa or Black Lives Matter or any of these groups burning down cities, I want to see every one of those people thrown in jail the way they done to the good citizens that were over there in January 6th. This is terrible. This is a communist government. And if this country doesn't wake up now, there ain't going to be another chance to get it back. They are communists through and through. They don't give a damn about the American public. They hate us. And why the people don't see it, I can't understand, Jake, why there's half the people are for them. I don't understand that, Jake. It's black and white.
Bob, that, I can hear how upset you are, but here's why they're for them. They're lazy. They don't want to work. They don't want to create their own wealth and their own success. They want the government to do it for them. Donald Trump is not going to do it for them. Kamala the Commie will. To continue to buy votes, they will continue to coddle, support, and fund people who just don't want to work. They don't want to be successful. They don't want to start a company. They don't want to be an entrepreneur. They want to sit in their parents' basements and sponge off the government. They want the government to pay off their student loan. They don't want to do it themselves. I believe that's who these people are. That's why they hate Donald Trump. They're jealous of what Donald Trump has achieved in his life and what his family has achieved. They're jealous. That's why they hate him so much. And don't think the Democrat communists don't use that hate, that jealousy, to maintain a base that hates and will continue to vote against Donald Trump. Would you agree with that, Bob, in Cape May, New Jersey?
100%, Jake. You know, it's a common thread of communism. It's based a large part on envy. Envy for people who work hard,
yep,
who achieve, who have talent. Absolutely. And, you know, Jake, the pattern of buying votes, of course, the college loans, of course, plumbers and people that work with their hands are now paying off the college loans of well-off or soon-to-be well-off college graduates. Okay? That doesn't make sense. But of course not. So they're buying votes. Biden also bought votes in the 2000 midterm elections. What did he do? We had super high gas prices because of his idiotic policies. And what's he do? He releases all this oil from our strategic reserve, yep, in order to bring down gas prices.
Which taxpayers purchased. Taxpayers purchased. Correct. To protect the nation, and we're paying to store it. He used our money. And remember, China got a lot of that oil, Bob.
Exactly. And Jake, Donald Trump bought that oil when it was at historic lows, when they were almost giving it away, and then Plugs sells it off pretty cheap, sells it off, and to replenish that, we probably have to pay double, triple, or quadruple what Donald Trump paid to have that reserve for us.
Right.
So again, you know, taxpayers are not being taken care of. And you mentioned Michigan just real quick.
Yeah.
Michigan.
Oh, what a mess.
With the auto industry, they should absolutely be voting Trump. But there's going to be hanky-panky going on.
There's already, Bob, I said to Nancy last night, I am so disgusted by what I see going on in Michigan right now. And I sent a text message to Jim Hoft of the Gateway Pundit, who's been on all over this story, getting these stories out. And let me see if I can find the text message that I sent to Jim, and I'll read it over the air. Give me a moment here as I go down. Here it is. The story that Jim put up 2 days ago. Source of data manipulation is coming from Secretary of State, top election official in Michigan. Massive double voting scandal. I said, did you hear that I said massive? In Michigan. So I said to Jim in the text message, I said to Jim, if they are going to steal this election, it's going to be very, very bad for this nation. And Jim said they will. They will. I mean, we can expect Michigan right now to be the most problematic state with regard to election integrity. I just don't. I don't understand it. And the reason they're doing this is because Donald Trump is going to win Michigan, Bob.
Well, you know, Charlie Kirk mentioned that Michigan is worse than 2020. It's worse. Mm. And you've got the biggest Arab American organization they endorse Trump.
Right.
The Jews in Michigan, they're flocking over to Trump. The auto workers. It makes no sense that we're going to lose this, but other than the cheating and you know, where does this country go when our vote doesn't count anymore? Where does it go?
Well, Bob, the question is, how Americans will they go away quietly if battleground states like Michigan are stolen from Trump? That remains to be seen. Bob, thanks so much.
Thanks, Jake. Bye.
You're listening to Your News Talk America. We're going digital interactive. In just a few moments after the top of the hour, Chris Ruddy, CEO of Newsmax, coming up next.
WGMD Rehoboth Beach and 98.5 WUSX Seaford, the talk of Delmarva.
We haven't had numbers like this since COVID times. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Hiring last month was the weakest since December 2020.
Job growth stalled in October. Only 12,000 new jobs were created.
Hurricanes Helene and Milton may have been factors limiting new hiring in damaged areas.
Economists were anticipating weaker job growth in October, but most were predicting at least 100,000 new positions. The unemployment rate remained at 4.1%.
That's Fox's Ginny Casola. Hiring also revised down by 112,000 jobs in August and September. President Biden in a statement says they expect job growth to rebound as hurricane recovery and rebuilding continues, and he says America's economy remains strong. This morning's report was the last update to the economy before the election.
This is all you need to know. Kamala broke it, and I will fix it.
Former President Trump blames the Biden administration for inflation. He rallied there in New Mexico and campaigned in Arizona and Nevada. So did Vice President Harris.
At the top of my list is bringing down the cost of your living. That will be my focus every single day as president.
There will be dueling Trump-Harris rallies tonight in Wisconsin. The campaign will also run through Michigan. The vice president's running mate, Tim Walz, will speak at a UAW Union Hall in Taylor, where Fox Business Network's Grady Trimble reports.
Former President Trump, his running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, they'll also be in Michigan today, and what they're going to be focusing on is those auto workers who may disagree with the union's endorsement of Harris and Walz.
More than 64 million Americans have already voted early. That's about 40% of the total number of people who voted in the 2020 election. 6 people hospitalized in Orlando, Florida, after a shooting early this morning that killed 2 others in the streets downtown.
Multiple gunshots, firing. It was really loud. Everybody was scared. Everybody was running.
Police arrested a 17-year-old suspect. America's listening to Fox News.
You know, the big wireless companies want you to overpay for data that you don't need, but you don't have to settle for that with Pure Talk. Well, you get to choose how much data that you actually want. And for $25 a month, you'll get unlimited talk, unlimited text. You're going to get mobile hotspot, 5 gigs of data. Go with Pure Talk, and you get to choose how much data you actually want. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword save now, and if you do it now, you'll save an additional 50% off your first month from Pure Talk. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation welcomed U.S. Army Specialist Brent Menard into a new mortgage-free smart home in Florida. Now, while on a road clearance mission in Afghanistan, Brent's vehicle was blown up by an improvised explosive device. Brent became a T4 paraplegic. Tunnel to Towers built him a specially adapted smart home that allows severely injured heroes like Brett to live more independently. We hope you'll donate $11 a month so this great work can continue. Just go to their website, the letter T, the number 2, the letter...
The station Delaware and Maryland turns to for local news. Here is another Delmarva News Update here on 92.7 WGMD, WGMD.com, and the WGMD app.
I'm Bill Robbins in the Talk of Delmarva newsroom. Maryland State Police investigators are continuing to look into the death of a state prison inmate. It happened in Somerset County on September 21st. The inmate, identified as 38-year-old Virgil Bernard Robinson, he was declared dead on the scene. Robinson was a state prison inmate serving time at the Eastern Correctional Institute in Westover, Maryland. A person of interest, also an inmate, has been identified. Charges are pending the outcome of the investigation and autopsy results. A Milford City Park violation leads to a drug arrest just before 10 o'clock Monday night. Milford police officers noticed a vehicle parked in the Memorial Park basketball court area off South Washington Street. Officers spoke to the driver because he was in a city park after hours. He was identified as 19-year-old Ben Carter of Greenwood. DSP brought a narcotics canine to the scene and scanned the vehicle. Investigators found nearly 14 grams of Tier 2 quality crack cocaine, along with drug paraphernalia that indicated he was dealing drugs inside the vehicle. Carter was taken to the Department of Corrections in default of $12,500 secured bail. It may not feel like it yet, but winter is just around the corner. A shelter in Lewes that brings people in from the cold is already getting ready and looking for volunteers. Code Purple of the Cape offers warm beds for men and women. They're holding a volunteer information session November 11th to try to find those volunteers.
WGMD AccuWeather.
One more warm day with rain popping up in a couple of spots this morning. Mix of sun and clouds this afternoon. High 76. Southwest winds 8 to 16 and seas 2 to 4 feet. Skies will be clear tonight. 46 inland, 55 at the beach. Cooler tomorrow with sunshine. High 60 at the beach, 69 inland. Even cooler again on Sunday with sunny skies and 58 at the beach, 63 inland. For more on these and other stories, visit talkofdelmarva.com.
Hi, Dr. Michelle Parsons here. Here at Rehoboth Medical Spa, we have been treating our patients with a new class of medications for weight loss, including Saxenda, Wegovy, and Mounjaro. All of these prescription medications have been extremely effective at curbing appetite and helping our patients easily lose pounds that they have not been able to lose before at affordable prices. We make it easier for you to lose weight and improve your health. Book your free consultation today at 302-227-1079. Rehoboth Medical Spa, where the doctor is the difference.
Rehoboth. Listen up, Delmarva anglers. The Talk Delmarva Fishing Report.
Brought to you by Complete Tree Care, licensed and insured. Request an estimate at CompleteTreeCareDE.com.
It's time for the Talk Delmarva Fishing Report with Eric Burnley.
Thursday saw our good friend Small Craft Advisory flying again, so no boats left Lewes Harbor Marina, but the Elizabeth Ann out of Indian River Marina, as reported to Hook'em and Cook'em, ran 18 miles off the bow and caught 2 beautiful bluefin tuna. One weighed 169 pounds and the other one was 89 pounds. Looks like we're going to have another fall run of bluefins close to shore in 2024. Please get your migratory species permit just in case one of the big fish comes your way. Catching one without the permit is a federal offense. Look'em and Cook'em also cleaned some tog that were caught out of Indian River Inlet. Speaking of Indian River Inlet, Old Inlet reported the only action they heard of were keeper tog caught from the inlet. Sand fleas and green crabs were the baits used by successful anglers. This is Eric Burnley with your Talk of Delmarva Fishing Report.
Broadcasting from the Meineke Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Let's head over to Chagrin Home Comfort Products and welcome in MJ Powell. MJ? It's Digital Interactive Friday. Good morning and welcome to your News Talk America, your home for freedom, liberty, and most of all, the truth. You expect the truth from us, and that's what we provide, my friends. We've got a very exciting program on tap for today. We're expecting a visit from a panelist, Chris Ruddy, the CEO of Newsmax. We're waiting for Chris to join us. Then we'll be joined by two more respected journalists at Newsmax. Our good friend John Tabacco, a.k.a. JT, the host of Wise Guys on Newsmax. Wise Guys will air tomorrow, Saturday night at 10 p.m. And John Glasgow will be joining us. Now, both JT and John Glasgow were outside the Madison Square Garden Arena last Sunday. They had very interesting experiences, and they're going to talk about that. Also, Mr. Glasgow has been on the campaign trail with President Trump as well. What about all of the damage done to the Kamala the Commie campaign just over the past week by surrogates who were supposed to be helping Kamala but ended up hurting her chances 4 days from today when the votes are counted? Well, we're going to be talking to our good friend Jeffrey Lord. Jeffrey will be joining us just after the news at 11, hour number 2. So for the next 2 hours, Digital Interactive. Now, for those of you who are producers on Dial and you had uploaded questions to be presented to Chris Ruddy in the past, when Chris, prior to his having to cancel at the last minute because of an emergency that came up at Newsmax, you can go on to your notes on Dial and resubmit those questions again. I cannot do it. Mark can't do it. Walt can't do it. Snerdley can't do it. Those questions are yours, and you have to be the ones to put those questions back up. So again, there were some great questions. We're waiting for Chris to join us, and hopefully we'll have him with us. We don't see him logged in as yet. I'm just looking from the control room. Again, John Tabacco and John Glasgow, they will be joining us later in this hour. And then hour number 3, Jeffrey Lord will be joining us, former advisor to President Reagan, frequent contributor to Newsmax. How much damage have people like Mark Cuban, Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, how much damage have they done to the Harris campaign? Is it considerable, or so many people have voted early that it really doesn't matter? Well, we're going to find out. Jeffrey Lord in the third hour of our total program. The first hour was just terrestrial radio. Second and third hours of the program, digital and interactive. Now, if you're listening this morning, you want to watch, you can go on to realnewstalk.com. That's the show website, realnewstalk.com. Or you can watch the program on Facebook Live. The reason I mention that is I have, I'm dressed in some unusual attire today that I normally do not wear when doing the program from here on Digital Studio 2. So if you go on to Facebook Live or you go on to realnewstalk.com and you take a look at the streamed part of our program today, you will see how much differently I am dressed than what I normally do. With that, we're just going to take a break here on Your News Talk America. More of our digital interactive program this Friday coming your way in just a moment. Stay with us.
Here's a look at your Delmarva forecast. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times today, with daytime highs approaching 78. Southwesterly winds 10 to 15 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies again tonight. Lows dip down to about 48. Mainly sunny skies tomorrow. Highs level off around 64. Mainly clear skies Sunday, with daytime highs approaching 63. 69 Monday. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center, inland. Right now, it's 72 degrees.
The Sean Hannity Show, weeknights at 9 on WGMD's 92.7. You're listening to WGMD. Mike Bradley mornings on WGMD.
Broadcasting from the Lincicome Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
America and Delmarva decide on Tuesday, November 5th, Election Day. Polls are open in both Delaware and Maryland from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Once the polls close, join Jake Smith and the Talk of Delmarva election team for the results as they come in on 92.7 and 98.5. Mike Bradley will watch the Maryland races. MJ Powell will follow Delaware. And election analyst John Brady will bring you commentary and more. And you can add your comments and observations by joining the Digital Interactive Lounge at thetalkofdelmarva.com.
Early and absentee voting are underway in Delaware for the November 5th general election. If you plan to vote absentee, you have until Friday, November 1st to request an absentee ballot be mailed to you. The last day that an absentee ballot can be issued by the Department of Elections is on Monday, November 4th at noon. Absentee ballots must be received by the Department of Election by the close of the polls at 8 p.m. on election night at the County DOE main office. In Sussex County, that is on North Race Street in Georgetown. For more information, go to the talkofdelmarva.com.
The Roxana Volunteer Fire Department Auxiliary is holding an antique and classic car and tractor show Saturday, November 2nd from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Firehouse on Zion Church Road in Roxana. Vehicle entries are just $15. Vendor tables are also available for $20. Besides the great cars and tractors, there will also be a 50-50 raffle, Chinese auction, and food available. For more information, go to the community calendar under the Extras tab at thetalkofdelmarva.com. Early voting in Delaware is underway through Sunday, November 3rd. From October 30th through November 3rd, early voting is available from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. There are multiple locations where you can early vote in each county, including in Sussex County at the early voting site at the Midway Shopping Center on Coastal Highway at Midway, the Rollins Community Center in Lewes, and at the Millville Community Center. For more information, go to thetalkofdelmarva.com.
This is Julianne Murray, chairman of the Delaware Republican Party. Did you know that the DEGOP has an app? I need you to download it today by going to the App Store or Play Store and searching Delaware Republican Party. This app is going to be key to our Get Out the Vote efforts for the general election. Please download the app today so you can help us deliver victories to Republican candidates in November. Again, go to the App Store or the Play Store on your phone and search Delaware Republican Party. Thanks.
Broadcasting from the Panelists Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
You're listening and watching your News Talk America. One of our producers, Bob in Lewes, is looking at the video here at the DS2 and sees my unusual attire. If you want to see it, you can log on to realnewstalk.com and watch the video. Or, if you choose, you can go on to Facebook Live and watch it there. And, my friends, if you didn't hear the news, and I'm going to read this, this has just come in, you may have already heard, but the United States economy adds just 12,000 jobs in October. That is the lowest in 4 years. And if that is not another hit to the Kamala campaign, I don't know what is. Now, I want to welcome in our guest, our panelist, to our digital interactive broadcast on Friday. And he is the CEO of Newsmax. His name is Chris Ruddy. Chris, it's great to have you on the broadcast. When you were scheduled, I guess it was late September, you had a legal issue that was being resolved here at a court in Delaware. So we certainly understood, and we're glad that has been resolved. But a little bird told me that you were at a Chaminade reunion last night. I didn't know you had gone to Chaminade. You grew up in Nassau County, did you?
Wow, well, it's a small world that you would even know about Chaminade High School, which is on Long Island, New York. And I did grow up on Long Island, and I'm broadcasting right today from our headquarters, our TV in New York. So we're keeping we have offices down in Florida and here.
I had a parish priest at my parish in Kings Park, New York. He was a teacher at Chaminade. His name was Father Peter Dooley. Did you know him?
I knew Father Peter Dooley. Yes, he was there. He was head of guidance counselors when I was there.
Yeah, he was
very nice man.
Yes.
Very nice man.
Yes, yes, indeed. Now, I'm not sure if you're aware, Chris, but John Tobacco comes on with me on Fridays to preview Newsmax. He's been doing that for a couple of years.
Okay, well, it's great. I did know that he was on a radio show in Delaware, so now I know the real story.
That is true. I have to thank you, Chris, because when President Trump left office, a lot of us were stunned. We were very, very dismayed. We missed President Trump, and it was Newsmax who continued to broadcast President Trump's rallies, MAGA rallies, after he left office. And I can't tell you from a personal perspective how important that was for me. So on behalf of all of us in MAGA Nation, thank you to you and Newsmax for keeping President Trump on the air and on the news and helping to get his message out for the past 3.5 years.
You know, the funny thing is, our job is to just present the news and give both sides. We have Kamala Harris is on Newsmax on events she does, and we broadcast those. We cover everyone. You know, I think one of the reasons Newsmax is growing, and it really is that we give people the information and let them decide. You know, Fox News opposed Trump in the 2016 election.
Yep.
They didn't really want him to win in 20. And in 24, they supported DeSantis. They froze out him. They wouldn't report on his events and things. To me, this is like crazy that a news network is not going to cover the main Republican candidate, the leading candidate in the primary. It's just like not up to the network to do that. So I think people have been coming in big numbers. President Trump appreciates, I think, the fact that we cover him.
He does.
Fairly. And we had, Nielsen said our third quarter, we had 33 million people watch Newsmax. That was up from 22 million the quarter before. Like, you're in media, you know, these numbers don't, like 10 million increases don't happen like this. Rarely. And it's seismic. It's an earthquake if it happens. So I think people are tuning into Newsmax. We were just added to YouTube TV. So if you have YouTube TV, you can get Newsmax now. We're on every major cable system: Comcast, Xfinity, Spectrum, DirecTV, Dish, Fubo, all the systems. So check us out. See if you like us. We're on streaming platforms as well with our free channel. John Tobacco has a great weekend show.
Yep.
So the Wise Guys. So we're really rocking and rolling. And the Reuters Institute, Jake, just did a study, and they found that there are 12 top news brands in the United States, and Newsmax was one of them. That was their survey, not ours. So again, it's a really incredible sign that we're growing, and I think it's just doing the right thing.
John Tobacco and John Glasgow are going to be on with us in the next segment, Chris, actually. And Jeffrey Lord, who usually comes on with us on Friday. This is our Newsmax Friday. He's going to be on with us as well. But John and JT and John Glasgow are going to be talking about their experiences outside Madison Square Garden last Sunday. It was not only the event inside the garden, there was also another event going on outside the garden. I thought they covered it better than anyone. What were your thoughts on the 1938 Nazi or 1939 Nazi rally revisited at Madison Square Garden last Sunday?
Well, it was incredible. I think that the president, a former president, is able to build these crowds all over the country. He just doesn't do it in one city.
Right.
I think it's terrible that the Democrats, Kamala Harris and the Democrats, Obama, other people, are comparing Donald Trump to Hitler, to Nazis. It's very dangerous because there was already 2 assassination attempts in the past 3 months. I mean, we don't need this rhetoric, this explosive, despicable rhetoric. And it's only inflaming people to do crazy things. And Trump was president for 4 years. There was no hint that he was out of Hitler. There was no actions he took that suggested he was a Nazi or that he was rebuilding Nazism in the United States. It's silly to believe this. Meanwhile, we have these control people in Washington, the left. They really do believe in a controlled government, and they're fascist, liberal fascists.
No question about it. Chris, John Tobacco has told me on a number of occasions that he would go over a wall for you or go through a wall for you. Do you realize that?
Well, I don't want him to injure himself. I don't think I'm fully insured. But we would not ask him to do anything beyond, above and beyond the great work he does at the network. So we're just tremendously proud of John and the whole team here.
He's amazing. He's amazing.
And we have a great lineup. In addition to John Tobacco, we have Greta Van Susteren leads the night.
Yep, 6 o'clock.
Rob Schmidt at 7. Rob Finnerty now at 8, who's terrific. Greg Kelly, Chris Plant. I mean, it's a murder's row of great personalities. And people watching this say it's so much better than Fox's lineup.
Don't forget Carl Higbee. Don't forget Carl.
Carl starts at 5.
That's right.
And Carl's a very popular guy. He's a former Navy SEAL.
Yep.
Worked in the Trump administration. But he really gets it, and he's good TV. So we're excited about it, and it's good. And we're planning to go public. You may have heard, John probably told you that we announced this summer that we're going to go. We have filed with the SEC to become a public company. We're planning to be listed on the New York Stock Exchange, which is exciting in itself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a really great time for us. Where the public is actually participating. They can actually, if they're eligible, and those rules are set by the government who's eligible, but not up by us, but they can actually invest early and buy shares before the IPO, planned IPO. And they go to a website we created called newsmaxinvest.com. So that's one word, newsmaxinvest.com. And we have all the information. Read it there if they want to join or get information. They can even do it by credit card if they want. We've had over 50,000 people have gone to newsmaxinvest.com and say they want to support Newsmax as we grow as becoming a major media player.
Chris, it seems to me that Newsmax is now poised for to studios and technology. You're now poised for the kind of growth that you've been looking for. Now that the lawsuit thing is behind you, what can you tell us about the future of Newsmax from the election going forward? What do you see?
Well, I just think we're growing in the United States. There's so many areas of growth. We have our cable channel. That's continuing to grow in 60 million, close to 60 million homes. We have our streaming channel, Newsmax 2.
Right.
That is available in 100 million homes. Roku, Samsung Plus, Vizio. Right. We're on all of the free platforms. Yeah. Then we have our Plus service, Newsmax Plus, where you download our app on your phone or smartphone. You can start for free, and your home TV apps, and you can watch Newsmax. You can get all of those 2 channels. And you just go to newsmaxplus.com to sign up. Newsmaxplus.com. In Europe, Molotov, which is the leading pay TV provider in France, just added Newsmax to its lineup.
Really?
Yeah, 19 million subscribers.
Wow, that's unusual in socialist Europe, as you know, Chris. They have been trying to prevent conservative media from getting access to European watchers and listeners. I'm glad to hear that, but it's very surprising.
Well, we're breaking through at all levels. We're breaking through here with Google, YouTube TV, and it's just the power of, you know what it is? It's the power of the remote controls, the clicks, the downloads. It's your listeners, our viewers taking action, saying, I don't like the rest of the media. I like Newsmax, and they're coming to us in very big numbers. We were the only cable channel to have increases in day parts this year over last year. Every single day part, big increases. It's just not happening in cable anymore, except for us.
Chris, I have on our dial board here some questions for you, if I can get to those. First of all, our producer Bob in Lewes, Delaware says, we watch and DVR about 10 hours of Newsmax coverage each day via Comcast. Comcast has multiple dropout problems with Newsmax, specifically from your channel. He's asking, do you think Comcast or NBC is doing this deliberately to hurt Newsmax? What say you, Chris?
Could you get his information and his name, and I would have my tech people contact him and ask him?
Yeah,
we haven't heard that. I have Newsmax on Comcast Xfinity in Florida,
Right.
And frankly, it's been pretty good for me, and I really like the service. And Comcast has been a good partner of Newsmax.
Okay.
So I know some of their other stuff is liberal, but they've been perfectly fine in business for us, and we've never had an issue with them. So I would be surprised if it's something, but it's bizarre that would be the only channel you're having problems. By the way, the fact that please let him know that if he's DVRing 10 hours a day of Newsmax, that it simply is not enough. We do 24 hours of programming, and he should be. I'm expecting at least 23. We would leave an hour for normal bodily functions and eating for an hour.
You would hope. Although Bob also says he loves Chris Salcedo. Chris is great. He is amazing. His follow-up question quickly is about Fox News, and I think people who helped build Fox News, the viewers and advertisers helped build Fox News, Chris. We felt as if when they abandoned President Trump, they knifed us in the back, and we were looking for an alternative, and that alternative is Newsmax, and has been what we've needed, has been provided by Newsmax.
Well, I think that Newsmax is doing what we're doing to help the country. I think the country needs more than one conservative-leaning media. Fox is changing. Absolutely. Anybody that watches it knows it's changing. They don't like Trump. They don't like this. They don't like that. There are many things on social issues as well. They've gone more to the left. We represent, I think, traditional American values, and we're not right wing. We invite liberals and Democrats on all the time. If we were right wing, we wouldn't have liberals on. We believe in diversity. We actually believe in the discussion and the diversity of ideas.
Judge Napolitano, by the way, knew you were coming on today. He's on every Thursday with me. We do a segment called Jake and the Judge.
Wait a minute. Who is Judge Napolitano again?
Is he lurking outside your office right now because he sent me a text?
No, just if you can spell that for me.
Napolitano.
Another Russian name, Napolitano.
He told me to tell you he loves you, Chris.
I said to him one day, "Do you speak Italian?" And he said, "Yes." I said, "Really, speak to me." He said, "What is your name?"
Yeah. Well, I asked him one day to pray the Hail Mary in Latin for me, and he, like that, it was no problem.
Well, he's a devout Christian Catholic, as you know, yes. And a good man, very good man. We like having him on Newsmax. He's been incredible commentator and analyst. He's great TV. He's a natural.
Yes, he is.
They got him from Central Casting.
That is true. We love Judge Napolitano. Final question, Chris. What are the Newsmax guest opinion and special feature guidelines? Can you tell us what those are before we let you go?
Guest opinion and guidelines for what? On the website?
I think on the website, correct.
Well, we don't really, so we have bloggers. People can apply to be a blogger, but they have to have a specialty in some field.
Got it.
They can't just be anyone, and we don't just have a lot of political rhetoric. We want information to people and real analysis. And if you go to Newsmax, you can hit our Opinion Insiders button at the very top, and I think you'd be really impressed by what we have there.
Thank you so much, Chris. We appreciate you coming on. I know we wanted to say you about 6 weeks ago, but fortunately all's well that ends well, right?
Yes, and we'll keep our fingers crossed for Tuesday. If you see the judge or John or Chris Salcedo or any of these, just tell them they all owe me a slice of pizza, and I'm still waiting for it. And then also your listeners and viewers, check out newsmaxinvest.com, join the revolution, find out about our planned IPO and listing on the New York Stock Exchange. It's very exciting. We'd love to have you be part of it.
Chris, thank you so much. It was nice to meet you, and nice to meet a graduate of Chaminade. I didn't get to go to Chaminade, unfortunately, but I know so many of my friends did. It was a pleasure meeting you, and hopefully we'll have you on again.
Great seeing you. Look up Father Joseph Chaminade. He's blessed status, but he was a true patriot in France and church leader who fought against the communists of his time during the French Revolution. So he's a very heroic man, and I'm very proud to have gone to his institution that he founded, the Chaminade religious order, the Marinists. So thank you so much, and we'll be in touch, Jake.
Chris, thank you so much. Chris Ruddy, CEO of Newsmax. Chris, God bless. You're listening to Your News Talk America. More of our Digital Interactive Friday in just a moment. Stay with us.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Here is the marine forecast from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center. A small craft advisory continues. Partly sunny for today with highs heading into the 70s. Around the water, southwest winds will be breezy 10 to 25 knots, seas 3 to 5 feet. The current water temperature is 63 degrees. At Cambridge, low tide at 10:43 a.m., high tide 4:50 p.m. And at Rehoboth Beach, high tide 8:13 a.m., low tide 2:28 p.m.
Hi, this is the Rehoboth Foodie. Join me on Saturday afternoons from 2 to 4 on WGMD 92.7, the talk, or rather, the food of Delmarva.
This WGMD Fox Business Update is brought to you by Sussex Environmental Consultants. For a healthy home, call 302-947-1810.
I'm Maria Bartiromo, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Stocks opened higher. Investors are looking at the likelihood of the Federal Reserve cutting interest rates next week after almost non-existent job growth last month, just 12,000 positions. The Labor Department says Hurricanes Helene and Milton and the ongoing Boeing strike are depressing job creation. Boeing's machinists in the company have made a third attempt at settling the strike with a fresh offer that will be voted on Monday. Boeing shares opened 2% higher. Energy giants ExxonMobil and Chevron reported stronger than expected earnings, both stocks up 2%. Amazon and Apple's quarters were upbeat, but Apple is being cautious about the holiday season. Amazon shares are up 6%, Apple down 1%. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jennifer Soda. Invested in you.
Did you know your life insurance is an asset you can sell? I'm Jay Jackson, CEO of Abacus Life. For almost 20 years, Abacus has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors just like you. And at abacuspays.com, we've created a free policy value calculator so you can find out the worth of your policy in just seconds. There are no fees and no obligations. Get real value from your life insurance when you need it with Abacus. Learn more at abacuspays.com.
Dare Center Studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
John Glasgow and John Tobacco for Newsmax will be joining us in a minute. They're just getting their cameras set up. With that, let's head to MJ Powell at Chagrin Home Comfort Products. MJ.
Well, they're all about, just things that are offensive, trying to censor those things, but they're trying to pay these things back with more offensive rhetoric.
It did not make me feel good, no, but I know who I am in Christ, so, and that doesn't bother me at all.
Everybody's saying that we need to tone our rhetoric down, and it's nothing but hate. You want to bring the Republican vote towards yourself, but then you're calling us garbage.
But is that really what you want? Somebody that calls other people garbage like that?
It's
Well, that is some of the opinions that John Glasgow from Newsmax saw recently, or spoke to several supporters of the America First movement. John, I believe those were in Nevada. Is that correct?
That was in North Carolina. I was
have
actually
trouble hearing
up at,
you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
There you go. Yeah, that was in Rocky Mount,
North Carolina. Okay.
Yeah. So these, a bunch of Trump supporters there were turning out for a rally. This was just days after the MSG rally. And this was literally less than 12 hours after President Biden called Trump supporters garbage. And that trash talk really resonated with a lot of these young voters. I mean, that was the thing that surprised me the most, was how many young people were in that line to go and support the former president. And they were upset. They thought that was a direct shot at them. And they've been called deplorables by Hillary Clinton. They've been called Nazis and, fascists and all this rhetoric that's going around from the left. And they're not happy about it. They say just because they support Donald Trump, they're not. This political rhetoric has gone too far one side. And right now we're seeing, less than a week before the election, the Democrats have nothing. They have no policies. They don't have a great candidate. And this is all they have, is to now label half the country as garbage. And this is really going to I think this is really going to tip the scales for this election in less than a week.
John Glasgow is joining us, host of Sunday Report, 10 a.m. until noon Eastern Time. John is also a Newsmax correspondent who's been traveling with the Trump campaign. Also joining us is JT himself, John Tobacco. John, how do you like my reflective vest?
Well, first of all, I'm sick of that vest already. I'm good on the joke already. But now, listen, don't take my man, Jonathan Glasgow there, rising star, and start trying to lure him into some political talking points, okay? Let's talk about more important things. Me and him, you told Ruddy, okay? And by the way, to me, that was the fierce resistance of any interview I've ever heard you give. It was real, it was raw, it was natural.
Thank you.
And it was unbelievable. Chris Ruddy he's a iron-fisted leader, but he's a man of limited words, and those words got to be meaningful. And the way you spoke to him, the way he opened up to you, I listened to the whole entire thing. And I heard you also, which he probably thinks it was a setup, but I heard you say...
Gee, John, why would he think that?
I heard you say that I come on with you for the last 2 years to promote Wise Guys, so thank you for getting me a couple extra points there. But then I heard you tell him
anything I
that
can do,
I would run through a wall for him or something. I was like, wow, Jake is really kissing my butt.
John, when I saw you kissing Cardinal Dolan's ring on Columbus Day, that was it wasn't Columbus Day. That was
and that's why that happened, because I'm blessed. But listen, I'm blessed to have this guy. I don't know what side he's on. That guy.
He's on that side, yeah.
See my backdrop behind me here.
What is that? What is that backdrop, John?
Us.
Yeah,
us on Sunday. Let me get out of it.
Okay.
Okay. That's us.
So I'm going to go on the record and say
on Sunday.
Yeah.
John Tobacco is the greatest hype man in the history. He could literally open for rappers and go on the stage and get a crowd going. He had that bar lit up. He had them all chanting USA, Trump, 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 Newsmax, Newsmax, Newsmax. This guy, everywhere he goes, everybody is noticing this guy. He is such a character. Love JT, but he got that crowd going.
Now,
thank you, John.
Glasgow,
that was nice. But Jake, just let me tell you, honestly, like, I know Chris is on a media tour because he wants more people to be smart and invest in the Newsmax IPO early. So he's trying to get that message out anywhere he can. So he probably does a series of these, and I've heard all of the spiels because I love Newsmax. I breathe it. But I meant it when I said it. That was a meaningful and powerful interview. You pointed out in there how he's kind of like one man against the world, the Fox Newses and the billionaires and everything.
Yep.
And he's a guy from humble beginnings from Nassau County, and it's him versus them. And, you know, for me and this young man right next to me, above me, below me, wherever he is, we're lucky to be part of Newsmax because there's really no other options right now. So even, and Chris said it great, you try to lure him into saying, hey, you're the only conservative voice out there. And Chris said, hey, what we do is give the people the information that we get, and you decide. And we do have a lot of Democratic voices on our network. And Chris opened the doors to people if they want to behave like humans and civilized people and not pre-Cambrian, cavemen. And that's why more people, 33 million people last quarter, went to Newsmax, because we're given both perspectives. But in this particular instance, the information we're giving and the feedback guys like me and John are getting out on the streets is the people want Trump. We have a right to want what we want individually. But to me, Newsmax is delivering that message, and no one else is doing it, and he's giving both sides. So that's why we're winning right now.
I think that the JT echoed that very concisely and precise as well, is that, we bring on Democrats to make their arguments, their points, but it's our job at Newsmax to also claw back all of the rhetoric that comes from the left in terms of, they're propping candidates up. They're using the media to help, endorse a candidate, promote a candidate. And it's our job at Newsmax to kind of claw through all of that and give people the honest truth and say, you decide, what you're hearing over here isn't necessarily all true. Mm-hmm. And we're going to give you a different perspective from, a conservative perspective, but also down the middle. We're going to bring on Democrats. We're going to give that other side so Democrats can argue their point. But we ultimately want to give Newsmax viewers the choice of what they believe is actually factual in this day and age, because journalism has changed just with this election. I've seen it, a lot of the local stations, a lot of the network stations, cable stations are very pro-Democrat. And I think it's refreshing to see a different option that kind of gives you a different perspective on what you're seeing and hearing, so that you're not just hearing talking heads giving their perspective on things and kind of shoving it down your throat and saying, well, this is how you should think and this is how you should believe. Whereas I think that we offer a fresh perspective on what's happening. And that we're seeing that when we go into these, rallies or we're in the communities, people say we love Newsmax. And, at a time when people say that it's fake news, this is all fake news, to have actually people say, we love watching your station, it kind of gives you a little bit of confidence, and that what you're doing is actually impacting people, and they respect what perspective you're putting forward.
John Glasgow, let me just ask John. You've been with the Trump campaign, and over the last week, we've seen an onslaught from Hillary Clinton, comparing the Madison Square Garden rally to 1939 Nazi rally at the Old Garden, to Trump is unhinged. He's a mental case. Mm-hmm. All Trump supporters are garbage. Have you seen any changes of those who are attending Trump rallies, the Trump campaign itself? Have you noticed in the last week when the Demcoms, and that's what I call them, the Democrat communists, have increased the rhetoric, John Glasgow, have you seen any change in the attitude of the Trump campaign or his supporters?
I do believe that there is a change, because I realize that now, let's be honest, there's not a lot of undecided voters at this point. There's not a lot of, we're days before this historic election. If you haven't decided who you're voting for, you're probably not going to vote. But, you look at what's happening in terms of, as we inch closer to the ballot day, you're starting to see people and how the left is attacking now Trump supporters. Yeah, they're fired up. They think we're at a point now where you got to choose a side. And I think that a lot of these people, these attacks because of their political views, has created a movement. And we're seeing that movement across the country from state to state, not just the battleground states, but in Democrat blue stronghold states where people feel that they're being attacked for their beliefs. They're, or just standing up for common sense, or they don't believe in some of these policies that the left are trying to put forward. And I think that you are starting to see people go to the polls with passion, with an idea. They want to make a change. They're going to go vote because they don't like the direction of the country.
But John, you interviewed, I played the audio. These were young people. These weren't seniors.
No.
These were young people, right?
That's what surprises me the most at these rallies and in that bar that we were in. I mean, sure, it's a bar, but at the same time, a lot of these people are in their 20s, 30s, early 40s that are turning out to these rallies. It's not, who you would typically think that would go to a rally, where it's these old people that just have nothing better to do. They're going to go and support Trump. No, these are people that have taken off work or have made an effort to be there because they feel that their vote matters and they feel that their support matters for these candidates. And a lot of these people that I talk to, I ask them, what's driving you to the ballot? What is it that wants you to go and vote for Trump? Is it just you like Trump in general? They say, no, the economy is in the tank. We pay more for groceries. We don't like what's happening with the border. We want legal immigration. We don't want to worry about crime. We see these cities that are becoming, just overly taxed, and they don't like how their money is being spent to support illegals in this country. And they're tired of it. And the only way that they can make a difference is by their vote at the ballot box. And I just think that a lot of people right now can't buy a home. They want to buy a car. Interest rates are high. They worry about their future. They want to have kids. What's it going to look like, 4-10 years down the road? And they're upset. They want change. And so it's not even that they support Trump per se. They support the movement, and they want their voice heard, and they feel that it's the party of common sense.
I can't believe how many young people are for Trump. John, I've got a question here from one of our producers, Bob, who says, you seem to be less certain that President Trump will win the state of New York. You've never been certain, John, if I'm correct, that President Trump will carry New York. What you've said is that his support among minorities is perhaps bigger than he's ever seen, or perhaps bigger than any recent Republican candidate has seen. Correct, John?
Jake, well, listen, I think Lee Zeldin, as I've mentioned many times on your program, lost to Kathy Hochul by 6.7%.
Turnout, John, turnout.
Lee ran a great campaign, big turnout with Republicans, Nassau County. Lee is running the effort for Trump here in New York. I personally love Lee. I know him personally. He's a great guy. I did rallies with him in Staten Island. But I think Trump is a little more charismatic than Lee Zeldin.
Yes, slightly. He was my congressman, John. Yes, slightly more charismatic.
And hey, listen, military guy, lawyer, former congressman.
That's right.
Made his bones in the New York State Assembly. New York, this is a guy, right?
Yep.
But Trump's got the it factor, and Lee got to 29% in the 5 boroughs in New York City, which was good, which got him in that margin of 6.5.
Right.
But Lee did not have anywhere near Trump's numbers with blacks and Hispanics and Asians.
Right.
And I think if Trump can get 5 or 6 more points to 35 or 36% in the 5 boroughs with that minority surge. And by the way, Saturday I'm going to be in the Bronx with Reverend Ruben Diaz, a Democrat, who's out campaigning for Trump in the Bronx. And tomorrow morning, I'm going to be in Staten Island. We're having a Trump rally. So I'm doing everything I can to turn out the vote in the 5 boroughs. And by the way, real quick, because Glasgow talked for like an hour.
Hey, it's my debut. I got to get on there.
You're a regular now, okay? You're part of the number one, Giuliani's going to pay for me being on the bottom. I got 8 years on this guy right here. I'm supposed to be on the top bunk, not the bottom bunk, but whatever. But
John, quick, John, I'm out of time, but the jobs numbers today, do they hurt Kamala even further?
Putrid, horrible. They couldn't even rig them. 12,000 is a joke, mostly government jobs. The worst news you get today.
John Glasgow, thank you so much. John Tobacco.
You're welcome.
Remember,
thanks for having me.
Wise Guys tomorrow, 10 p.m. Eastern Time on Newsmax. John Glasgow, host of Sunday Report, 10 a.m. to noon on Newsmax. Thank you, gentlemen. Hope to have you back very soon.
Thank you.
You're listening to Your News Talk America. More of our digital interactive broadcast coming up in just a moment.
Here's a look at your Delmarva forecast. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times today, with daytime highs approaching 78. Southwesterly winds 10 to 15 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies again tonight. Lows dip down to about 48. Mainly sunny skies tomorrow. Highs level off around 64. Mainly clear skies Sunday, with daytime highs approaching 63. 69 Monday. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center, inland. Currently 73.
92.7 and 98.5 WGMD, where the news comes first. News on the hour on WGMD. Get the WGMD app online today.
All right, let's head back to MJ Powell, Shagrin Home Comfort Products. Hi, MJ. All right, MJ, thank you very much. We've got Fox News coming up at the top of the hour. Local news, sports, everything you could possibly need. And Jeffrey Lord as well. Jeffrey will be joining us to talk about, well, next Tuesday, 4 days away. But what about the damage that's been done to Kamala's campaign? As you heard John Tobacco say, the numbers, the jobs numbers, my friends, the jobs report, the worst in 4 years. The Demcoms own this.
92.7 WGMD Rehoboth Beach and 98.5 WUSX Seaford, the talk of Delmarva.
There's been a lot less hiring across America. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Way less than expected last month, and this morning's report that also showed August and September hiring revised down by 112,000 jobs.
While the unemployment rate was unchanged at 4.1%, the Labor Department says just 12,000 jobs were added last month, the fewest in nearly 4 years.
Fox's Jared Halbert at the White House.
In a statement, the president says he expects job growth to rebound next month as hurricane recovery continues. Since taking office, President Biden says 16 million jobs have been created, with incomes up and inflation down to nearly its 2% target.
It's the last big economic report before the election, but more than 64 million Americans have already voted early, setting records in some states, including Georgia, where early voting ends today. Same for Arizona And Nevada also toss-up states.
For Republicans here in the state, so far, they like what they're seeing. According to the latest numbers from the Nevada Secretary of State, Republicans are outpacing both Democrats and third-party or nonpartisan voters.
Fox's Jeff Paul in Las Vegas. Former President Trump and Vice President Harris both held rallies in Nevada last night, and also both will rally tonight in Wisconsin. The former president will also go to Michigan. And as he keeps making record illegal immigration and migrant crime an issue, there is a hearing this morning in Georgia in the case against a man in the U.S. illegally charged with murdering a nursing student, Laken Riley, while she was out jogging in February in Athens. He is Jose Ibarra.
The hearing is set to focus on the use of DNA evidence. Prosecutors say DNA from Riley's fingernails is some of their evidence against the suspect, and Ibarra's defense argues that the warrant for his DNA was not based on probable cause and should be tossed out.
Fox's Madison Scarpino outside the court in New York City, opening statements today at former Marine Daniel Penny's trial. He's white, charged with manslaughter, choking a black homeless man on a subway train last year. Penny claims Jordan Neely was threatening people and demanding money. America's listening to Fox News.
You know, the big wireless companies want you to overpay for data that you don't need, but you don't have to settle for that with Pure Talk. Well, you get to choose how much data that you actually want. And for $25 a month, you'll get unlimited talk, unlimited text. You're going to get mobile hotspot, 5 gigs of data. Go with Pure Talk, and you get to choose how much data you actually want. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword save now, and if you do it now, you'll save an additional 50% off your first month from Pure Talk. Police officer and K-9 handler Jacob Russell Chaffins was fatally shot while attempting to serve warrants for domestic violence offenses. And thanks to friends like you and your generosity, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave the Chaffins family the gift of a mortgage-free home. There's so much more to do, and to say thank you to our nation's heroes and their families for their immense sacrifices, all for us. Donate $11 a month. Go to their website, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.
Delmarva's home for local news, 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD, the talk of Delmarva.
This WGMD News Report is brought to you by the Cottage Cafe, serving daily specials every day. Check out their menu, upcoming events, and more at cottagecafe.com.
I'm Jerry Lademan in the Talk of Delmarva Newsroom. Maryland State Police looking into the death of an inmate at the Eastern Correctional Institute in Westover. The inmate found unresponsive in his cell September 21st. Another inmate, a person of interest. Once the State Police Homicide Unit finishes its investigation, the Somerset County State's Attorney's Office will decide on charges. A Milford City park violation leads to a drug arrest. Just before 10 Monday night, Milford police officers said they noticed a vehicle parked in the Memorial Park basketball court area off South Washington Street. Officers say they spoke to the driver because he was in that city park after hours. The driver, identified as Ben Carter of Greenwood. State police brought in the narcotics canine to the scene. They scanned the vehicles, and they report they found nearly 14 grams of crack along with drug paraphernalia. Carter was taken to the Department of Correction. Bail set at $12,000. Election officials in Wicomico County are putting out a warning against tampering with ballot drop boxes. 2 cases of drop boxes being set on fire reported in Washington and Oregon. In Maryland, there are lots of drop boxes in every county for voters' convenience, and they're clearly marked with messages that say tampering with them is a federal crime. According to Wicomico County's chief election judge, Eric Brewington, the drop boxes are constantly watched to ensure security. He says they're all monitored by surveillance video, and he says if anybody tampers with them, they will be identified and they will be prosecuted.
WGMD AccuWeather.
Times of clouds and sun this afternoon with a shower in places. Warm, 75. Clear and cooler tonight, 46 inland, 53 at the beach. Mostly sunny and cooler, less humid on Saturday with the high 60 at the beach, 65 inland. Mostly sunny on Sunday, 58 at the beach, 63 inland. No rain in the immediate forecast aside from those few showers, which won't do much to dent the drought today. For more of these and other stories, visit talkofdelmarva.com.
Friday at the Cottage Cafe means you can get our signature fish fry for just $16. Our delicious fish is lightly battered and fried and served with hand-cut fries, coleslaw, lemon, and tartar. Don't forget to stop in and see us on Sunday for our roast turkey dinner for just $16. Cottage Cafe located on Route 1 in Bethany Beach. Join us in the pub for happy hour every day until 6 p.m. Check out all our offerings at cottagecafe.com.
It's time for the 92.7 and 98.5 Talk of Delmarva Sports Report.
Good morning. Let's change things up to the NHL. We go. The Capitals taking on the Montreal Canadiens at home last night.
Tackle rounds ahead. And a puck that Newhook will knock down. 5 seconds left. The Habs dumping in. And that, friends, is going to do it. Good morning. Good afternoon. And good night, Montreal. The Capitals with 6 goals in the last 2 periods. They defeat Montreal by a final score of 6-3.
John Walton, Washington Capitals Radio Network, ESPN Radio 630 out of our nation's capital. After a scoreless first period between both teams, each team scored 3 goals to the second, and the Caps would score another 3 in the third to go on for the victory. Alex Ovechkin with a goal there late, and again, he's very close. 37 goals behind Wayne Gretzky's all-time goal-scoring record. Charlie Lindgren, 13 saves on 16 shots. The Flyers, they were victorious over the St. Louis Blues by a score of 2-1. A late goal in the 16:59 mark of the third period by Bobby Brink. The difference in the game for the Flyers, who are now 4-6-1. The Penguins, they double up Anaheim at overtime. Final score in that one, 2-1. No local NBA teams in action last night. To the NFL and the kickoff to another week of games. Last night, the Jets hosting the Houston Texans. Fox News Radio's Bob Mortale has a recap.
Aaron Rodgers tossed 3 second-half touchdown passes to lead the Jets past the Texans 21-13. Rodgers found Garrett Wilson for the first 2 TDs. The second touchdown was a one-handed grab that was ruled out of bounds, but the on-field call was overturned after video review. Rodgers then connected with his former Green Bay Packers teammate Devontae Adams for the clincher with 2:58 left. The Jets raised their record to 3-6, while Houston fell to 6-3. The Texans lead the AFC South by a game and a half. Bob Mortale, Fox News.
And a reminder, WGMD's 92.7, a Ravens affiliate here on Delmarva, will be airing the Ravens hosting the Denver Broncos Sunday at 1, network pregame at 12:30, presented by the original Green Turtle in North Ocean City. College football last night, Tulane over Charlotte, 34-3. To high school football, none of the downstate teams in the first state were in action. At Maryland's Bayside Conference, Stephen Decatur completing their second straight undefeated season. They've now won 23 straight games going back to last year. They defeat Parkside on the road at County Stadium at Salisbury 58-14, and in the War of the Shore, Kent Island defeated Queen Anne's 21-14. Mike Bradley, 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD Sports.
Broadcasting from the Panelists Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Let's head back to Chagrin Home Comfort Products. MJ Powell is waiting. MJ? So now you know I wore the same reflective vest that President Trump wore just the other day. And I wore it yesterday, And I'm wearing it today, and I'm proudly wearing it. Now, one of the things that about government regulations, for those of you watching on Dial, for those of you watching on Facebook Live, you'll notice that this vest is the same vest in design of that worn by our president, President Donald Trump. And there's a simple reason for that. I guess it was about maybe 10 or 12 years ago. The United States government, under the United States Department of Transportation, decided that safety vests should be uniform and should have a certain reflective stripe in a certain area, and they required a certain stripe and a certain reflective quality. That's why the vest that President Trump wore the other day is the same vest that I'm wearing right now, because the government stipulates what that vest should look like and the reflective aspects of that vest. So if you go to, let's say, a store like Walmart and buy one of these vests because you want to show it off to your friends in your neighborhood and walk around and wear it proudly, that vest will look just like that worn by President Trump. Why? Because the United States government, the great Satan in Washington, requires it. Now, we're waiting for Jeffrey Lord to join us, but a couple of things I want to bring to your attention in the news. You heard me ask John Tobacco, who John is an economic expert. He's a financial guy. And if you didn't hear, the U.S. economy adds just 12,000 jobs in October. That is the lowest in 4 years. So much for President Trump destroyed the economy, right? The figure came in a month that included a strike and hurricanes. The unemployment rate held steady at 4.1%. In the final comprehensive snapshot, this is from our good friends at the Epoch Times, in the final comprehensive snapshot of the national labor market heading into next week's presidential election, the economy added a much smaller than expected number of jobs in October. Last month, there were just 12,000 new jobs, below the consensus estimate of 113,000. We are, I guess, my friends, in a recession. That is Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's recession. This represented the smallest monthly employment gain since December of 2020. What was going on in December of 2020, you ask? Well, it's very easy. We know it was the pandemic. Jeffrey Lord is joining us now. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Just out of curiosity, I hear a rumor that there's an election coming. Is that true?
I believe it is, Jeffrey. And let me ask you, these jobs numbers that came out this morning, how damaging is that to Kamala's campaign?
Well, I think that is just being piled on some other thing. You know, the whole garbage incident.
You see my reflective vest that I'm wearing here, Jeffrey?
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Yeah, you know, it has a habit of making somebody look thinner.
I've heard that. If anybody needs to look thinner, it's me, believe me.
Oh, man. So, yeah, I do think that's a problem. First of all, that's always a problem in a presidential election. But when we're 4 days out, 3 days out, and you've got all these other things piling on, boy, this is just something they don't need.
Well, let me ask you, over the past week, and I could play the montage. We have all the clips. We know exactly who said what and why. But these were surrogates, campaign surrogates, most of them. Biden was, Mark Cuban was, Hillary Clinton was is a campaign surrogate for her. They are not helping her at all. How badly do you think, Jeffrey? You've been in politics a long time. How badly has this hurt her with independence? Obviously.
Yeah, I think it really has done some damage. It was interesting to see Frank Luntz, the pollster.
Yeah, what did Frank have to say?
He said he was absolutely certain this was a serious blow to the Harris campaign. And I have got to believe there's always a little tension when you've got a situation where the president and a vice president, and the vice president is running for the top job and the president is going out. There's always a little bit of tension, but I have to believe at this point that the Harris campaign is just grinding their teeth over what goes on that's sort of out of their control, starting with Joe Biden himself.
Well, she was the one that was covering up his cognitive decline, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
You know,
well, I think she's paying a price for it.
Oh, there's no question. And, we have to ask ourselves, Joe Biden, your mother had Alzheimer's disease, right? She died of Alzheimer's.
Dementia. Yeah, Dad was in Alzheimer's. She was in dementia.
Oh, okay. So,
but I should say he was just shy of 90, and she made it to about 95 before this really set in, and then she lived on to 99. So,
but it's not unusual those suffering from some sort of cognitive decline to have anger issues,
No.
and the fact of the matter is Joe Biden is president of the United States. What if there is a serious crisis between now and January 20th that requires a level head?
That's right.
Is that a fair question to bring up, do you think, Jeffrey?
That anger, as I learned firsthand with good old Dad, it began to come out when it got dark out. When the sun would go down,
right.
Literally, when the sun would go down and get dark, that you could just see his whole demeanor. Because he was a very loving, good-natured guy, and this was just not him. And I learned soon enough I had to cope with it, and I survived. But this is typical of that particular problem. And note well that Joe Biden is having these moments when it's dark.
That is a great point. You talked about Frank Luntz. Here is something that the New York Post just put up about an hour or so ago, Jeffrey. Election guru Nate Silver. Nate Silver is not friends of Republicans.
No.
Accuses pollsters of putting finger on the scale, lying to keep the presidential race close. Listen to this. Polling guru Nate Silver lashed out at other survey junkies in his field for, quote, cheating in the final stretch of the 2024 presidential election, accusing them of recycling some results to keep the race between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris close. Wow. What do you think about that, Jeffrey?
Well, that's amazing. I noticed a while back that Dick Morris, the pollster who also, full disclosure, is now a Newsmax consultant, as am I.
Right.
And he said that he thought this was going to be like the Reagan 1980 landslide. And, when I drive around and I notice that Senator Fetterman from Pennsylvania, a Democrat.
He agrees with what you're going to say there, Mr. Lloyd.
That's exactly right. He has seen all these Trump signs just like I have.
Right.
And that really does say something, I think. So we will see. But, I keep thinking back to that 1980 election. I had been working in Washington for all of 2 years, and I had previously worked in the Pennsylvania State Senate. So I came home to vote on Election Day. And election night, I went over to the state Senate, into the office of the state Senate Republican leader.
Right.
I walked in there. He had NBC on. It was just barely 8 o'clock. And by 10 minutes after 8, I forget whether it was John Chancellor or whom, came on to say that they were giving the election to Reagan. And that was 10 minutes in.
Yep.
Wow.
And
I think we could be in for that kind of night here.
Well, the big issue is the Marxist state media, as you know, that's what I call them. They are not, they hate Trump so badly, and they hate Trump supporters just as much as Joe Biden does. But they're not going to be quick to do what Tom Brokaw or John Chancellor did back on November 3rd, 1980. I was watching NBC as well that night, Jeffrey. They're going to try to conceal it. They're going to try to delay having to call the race for Harris, don't you think?
Well, I think some of them could. The problem is that there's too much competition out there. One network may hold up, but others are going to be, out there. I remember in 2016, I was literally on CNN at the CNN Washington Bureau, on with Anderson Cooper and Van Jones and others. Yep. And it became pretty apparent that Trump was going to win. But at the instruction of Jeff Zucker, who was then the president of NBC, or I'm sorry, of
CNN. Yeah.
They held back from going there. But all these other networks were doing it. So, you finally get pressured into doing it because everybody else is doing it and everybody else can't be wrong.
No, that is a great point. Our good friend Jeffrey Lord is joining us. Jeffrey is former advisor to President Ronald Reagan, associate editor of the American Spectator, frequent contributor to Newsmax, and we just had Chris Ruddy on a little while ago, Jeffrey.
Oh, great!
And I also put in a good word. I told him that you were very good to this program, so he was
well,
glad to hear that.
Thank you. He's terrific.
And he also, Jeffrey, is host of the Word of the Lord podcast, and also a very good friend to this program. Jeffrey, one of our producers, Big Cat, is asking and mentioning about the jobs report. It's a good question. But he said what's curious is why not lie again, since it's 4 days before the election, just like the FBI did with the crime statistics before the debate, right? There are lots of rumors that Biden does not like that Kamala replaced him, and I'm wondering why they don't fudge it as usual and then reverse in a few days. That's what the FBI did with the crime statistics, Jeffrey. It's a good question.
I don't think they have much choice in a situation like that. What they do there is so regular and so expected that you've got all these bureaucrats in the Labor Department or whatever,
right,
that are just going to do it by rote. And, for somebody to try and mess with that, I think would cause them a worse problem.
Jeffrey Lord is joining us. Jeffrey, when we come back, let's talk about election integrity in Pennsylvania. You've been witness to.
That?
Yeah, what is that? Bucks County and other places. We're going to talk about that with Jeffrey Lord in just a moment. On your News Talk America, we're digital, interactive, and loving it. Jeffrey Lord and your anchorman, Jake Smith, back in just a moment. Stay with us.
Here's a look at your Delmarva forecast. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 78. Winds out of the southwest, 10 to 15 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies again tonight. Lows dip down to about 48. Highs level off around 64. Tomorrow, mainly clear. Highs level off around 63. Sunday, under mainly sunny skies. 69 Monday. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center, inland. Currently 73.
The Wendy Bell Show, Sunday, noon to 3 on 98.5, The Talk of Delmarva. Jake Smith, mid-mornings on WGMD.
Broadcasting from the Warnke Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva. Early voting in Delaware is underway through.
All right, I'm not sure why the computer did that, but we put a stop to it. That's what happens when you put things in automation. Sometimes the automation takes over, but not now. Jeffrey Lord is joining us. Our good friend is in Pennsylvania. And Jeffrey, Bucks County got a lot of attention this past week, and the Republicans, for once, finally won one.
Quote, Third County in Pennsylvania finds fraudulent mail ballot request forms from Field and Media Corps firm. District Attorney and General Office are now investigating.
Jeffrey,
I'm shocked.
You've seen election fraud in Pennsylvania as long as you've been in politics.
We have. It's so bad. We had a former Democrat congressman get sent to federal prison, convicted of voter fraud. He had bribed a Democratic election judge in Philadelphia with several $1,000s to stand by the machines in his precinct. And when no one was looking, ka-ching, 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 ka-ching. And then one of my favorites is back in 1994. This made the front page of the New York Times because it affected the balance of the Pennsylvania State Senate. It turned out that the Democrats had been playing games with absentee ballots. The Republican nominee was a young lawyer whom I knew, was a friend, who was a former aide to Senator Arlen Specter. He knew his way around Philadelphia politics, and he was told he had lost, defeated by somebody who was like a relative of the Democratic City Committee chair or some such thing. Well, he had Bruce Marks was his name. Bruce had the sense to get the absentee ballots rounded up. and a federal judge literally overturned the election and yanked the Democrat out of the state Senate and put Bruce in, and said there had been, his words, a massive scheme by Democrats to steal this election.
Jeffrey, that case set legal precedent in this country. That case is still talked about in every contested election, correct?
Yeah, I think that's right. Absolutely. Yeah, it was a mess. And I, this stuff has been going on in Pennsylvania longer than you and I have been around. One of my favorites when I really started researching this, somewhere in the 1830s, the governor of Pennsylvania lost an election. So instead of just gracefully leaving office when the time came, he had the equivalent of the Pennsylvania National Guard as it existed then surround the state capitol and keep his victorious opponent, the governor-elect, from setting foot in the capitol. And finally, the state legislature had to get into the act and say, "You're out."
Only in Pennsylvania. Jeffrey, Bucks County. Now, we won one, but why did they even try to close this early voting location? Where was Governor Josh Shapiro? Did they think that they could get away with something like this? It was obviously overturned because the Republicans and the Trump campaign had filed a lawsuit asking for an immediate action on the part of the court. Go ahead.
Well, I am a little reluctant to throw aspersions on Governor Shapiro. He seems to be a nice enough guy. He is, though, a machine Democrat. And
no question.
Lord only knows, so to speak, and I don't mean Lord,
yes, I understand.
What goes on behind the scenes in the Shapiro administration and in the bowels of it and in Philadelphia and all of that kind of thing in Bucks County with machine Democrats. I simply don't know, but suffice to say, I have my suspicions about what can go on there, and the capability for mischief is there for sure.
Now, you just brought up the story about Lancaster County. There were 3 cases of fraudulent mail-in ballots. That's what we're talking about in Pennsylvania. What are you hearing? Are there? We hear it's being investigated, but we all know what happens when we hear that right from government. It's being investigated. Jeffrey, what are you hearing? What do you think is going to happen in this case?
Well, I think there's going to be more of it. The case that I referred to a few minutes ago was Monroe County, which is new. So
before that was Lancaster.
Lancaster and Bucks have been in the news. Now you've got Monroe County, which is up there in the Northeast. I think I'm right about that. Wow. Several mail-in ballot applications were fraudulently submitted with at least one case involving a dead applicant.
Gee, how about that?
Shocking. It is amazing, how these dead. I'm almost thinking I should commit suicide now so I could vote as many times as I want.
Vote early and often. Jeffrey, Bob and Lewes, one of our producers, asks of you, when will the RNC file massive lawsuits against Pennsylvania for their voting cheating for the Demcoms, which has obviously already started? What say you, sir?
It's a good question. I think that they are. I mean, I've been impressed. I think they're on the ball with all of this. And, the election will come and go, and I don't think this is going to end. I think that this is going to continue on until we get some sort of above-board resolution about this. Now, what and how and that will be and when, I couldn't begin to tell you. But election day will come and go, and I am pretty sure we have not heard the last of this.
Now, Wolf, one of our producers, asks, is there any chance that the truth about the 2020 presidential election will ever come out? He's talking about Pennsylvania. I'm going to answer that because Commander Gregory Stenstrom, who has done a tremendous amount of work, legal work, on the 2020 election in Pennsylvania, said on this program a little over a month ago on our Friday digital interactive broadcast that President Trump, without question, won Pennsylvania in 2020. It was stolen from him. So there you go. That is unfortunately that is unfortunately what's happened. History has been altered. There's no question. But you know what? What's happening right now, Jeffrey? Tell me if you think I'm wrong. Donald Trump would not have the mandate to make the changes that he will have or should have to make if he had won re-election in 2020. I just think that everything's working out the way it's supposed to. What do you say?
Well, I tend to think that's the way the world works, that things happen because they are supposed to happen. And there is a force at work larger than all of us. And I think that that's a pretty good assessment. I'm not sure that there would be the serious movement to reform things and do things differently had that not happened.
Understood. Jeffrey, a couple of quick questions here before we let you go. Bob Casey, in trouble, serious trouble?
Yes.
What are your thoughts? Really?
Yes. I mean, he could still win, but we now have polls that show his opponent, Dave McCormick, either dead even or ahead by a couple points. And, you know, a lot of this depends on the presidential race. As I've often said and reminded people, and maybe I've said this to you, in 1980, various Republican parties around the country were having trouble getting their A-list candidates to run for the U.S. Senate. They thought, well, we're going to lose, and I don't want to ruin my career. I want to run for office later. So they signed up what were, in effect, their B and C list candidates. Along came the Reagan landslide, and the day after the election, all those B and C candidates were United States senators-elect.
Yep.
I
remember it well. I think I mentioned to you one of those was Senator Alphonse D'Amato of New York. Al D'Amato of New York was one of those B-list candidates, and he turned out to be a fabulous United States senator. He really did.
Yes, he did. Yes, he most certainly did. So I wouldn't be surprised in the least if something like that happened. And if that is the case, then in goes Dave McCormick, among others.
I like Dave. I did a Salute the Troops segment for his military service last week. I think he's an outstanding candidate. You live in, I believe, Pennsylvania's 10th Congressional District, Jeffrey?
That is correct. The home of Scott Perry.
Yes. What about Scott Perry's chances of being sent back to Capitol Hill?
Well, I think they're pretty. He's in a race. There's no question about it. His opponent is Janelle Stelson.
Mm-hmm.
And what Janelle has going for is that for a very long time, she was a television news anchor.
Okay.
And you know how this goes. If you're on television every day,
right?
You get, or you're in film. I mean, having worked for Ronald Reagan, I know how it works, right?
Right.
You know, you get a Reagan, you get a Schwarzenegger.
Carrie Lake. How about Carrie Lake? Carrie Lake, right? Yeah.
Carrie Lake, and who was the guy that played on the Love Boat?
Fred Grandy.
Yes, Fred Grandy.
Fred Grandy. Yeah.
He got elected to Congress from Iowa.
Yes.
So that gives you a great leg up. She's got it. Now, Scott's been there a while, and I think he's done a great job. He's a real conservative. So we will see. But it's close, no question.
Jeffrey, it is going to be a very interesting next 4 days and beyond. And I thank you for all that you have given our program, especially on our digital interactive broadcast. Do you have anything booked for Newsmax this weekend?
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, I will be on around noon tomorrow, and then before and possibly after the Trump rally tomorrow around 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock or so when it's over.
We will be watching, sir.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Jeffrey, thanks so much for your time today.
You bet. Buckle in.
It's going to be a rough ride. I agree. You're listening to your News Talk America, digital, interactive, and we will be back in just a moment. Please stay with us.
Advisory continues. Partly sunny for today with highs heading into the 70s. Around the waters, southwest winds will be breezy 10 to 25 knots, seas 3 to 5 feet. The current water temperature is 63 degrees. At Cambridge, low tide at 10:43 a.m., high tide 4:50 p.m. And at Rehoboth Beach, high tide 8:13 a.m., low tide 2:28 p.m.
All right, I just see from our boss here, head back to MJ. So, MJ, it's your turn on your remote at Shagrin Home Comfort Products. Go ahead.
Hi, this is the Rehoboth Foodie. Join me on Saturday afternoons from 2 to 4 on WGMD 92.7, the talk, or rather, the food of Delmarva.
This WGMD Fox Business Update is brought to you by Sussex Environmental Consultants. For a healthy home, call 302-947-1810.
I'm Lauren Simonetti, and this is the Fox Business Report.
The markets are looking at the likelihood of another Federal Reserve interest rate cut after only 12,000 new jobs were created in October. Economists were expecting a slump in hiring, but to around 100,000, not a standstill after Hurricanes Helene and Milton and the continuing Boeing machinist strike. Manufacturing activity slumped last month to a 15-month low. The ISM reading declined to 46.5, which suggests business is slowing. Also helping the market today, Amazon shares are up 7% after its upbeat earnings. Intel's quarter shows signs of the chip maker turning around. Apple reported record iPhone sales, but is expressing caution about the holiday season. Apple shares are lower. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jim Cosola, invested in you.
Did you know your life insurance is an asset you can sell? I'm Jay Jackson, CEO of Abacus Life. For almost 20 years, Abacus has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors just like you. And at abacuspays.com, we've created a free policy value calculator so you can find out the worth of your policy in just seconds. There are no fees and no obligations. Get real value for your life insurance when you need it with Abacus. Learn more at abacuspays.com.
Dare Center Studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Donald Trump is increasingly unstable and unhinged.
Trump actually reenacting the Madison Square Garden rally in 1939. I write about this in my book.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple. They're intimidating to him. He doesn't like to be challenged by them. And, you know, Nikki Haley will call him on his nonsense with reproductive rights and how he sees and treats and talks about women. I mean, he just can't have her around. It wouldn't work.
Sitting in here in my DOT-approved reflective vest, the same vest, not the same exact vest, the same designed vest by the government that President Trump was wearing. From DS2, Digital Studio 2, it's Digital Interactive Friday. So glad you could be a part of it, either through dial or through Facebook Live, or perhaps you're listening on terrestrial radio, you're listening online. RealNewsTalk.com. It's great to have you with us today. And what Jeffrey Lord said about the prediction that Dick Morris has made, that the results on election night are going to be very similar to what we saw on November 3rd, 1980. And that is that as soon as the polls close on the East Coast, that there will be an indication that, as President Reagan did, crushed Jimmy Carter. But here we are now. We are looking at 4 days from today, and it's much different than it was because Jeffrey and I both were watching NBC News. John Chancellor was the anchor, and Tom Brokaw was the one that actually made the announcement that NBC is calling the race for Ronald Reagan. I mean, for crying out loud, people were still out west. They were still waiting on lines to vote. And there was a lot of debate in the country that the people out west were disenfranchised. Remember that? Because they had not yet voted, and the election was already called by the networks. So it called into question the responsibility of the big three networks at that time, ABC, CBS, and NBC, about what their responsibilities are. So the next presidential election, which was 1984, where President Reagan crushed Walter Mondale, they were a little bit less inclined to call the race early, but they did anyway. I mean, it was still blatantly obvious that Ronald Reagan had crushed Walter Mondale in 1984. But now we have Marxist state media. They are the enemy of the American people. President Trump has said it. I've been saying it for longer than that. So what are they going to do? What are they going to do when, or if, perhaps that's not going to be the case, we don't know, that the results are making it very clear that it is going to be impossible for Kamala the Commie to have any pathway to an electoral college victory, period. And if that is the case, are they going to do what Jeffrey Lord said that Mr. Zucker at CNN did, and that is try to keep the truth from the American public? Exit polling is very, it's an exact science. Do you remember the exit polling when George W. Bush was running for re-election against John Kerry, let's put it that way, Mr. Swift boat. And the first exit polling said that Kerry was winning. And then it was flipped. And the George W. Bush exit polling got better and better and better. And Bush won re-election in 2004. So was it 2004? Yeah, I guess it was. No, it wasn't 2004. It was 2006. 2006, I'm sorry. Elections happen on 6 years. So it was 2006. So the fact of the matter is that it'll be interesting to see what the maggots in Marxist state media do. What do they try to conceal the truth from the American people? Do they try to call a timeout so that other places that aren't friendly to Republicans, conservatives, and the MAGA movement start looking for ballots to fill in here and there? We've seen that happen over and over again. I want to get to a couple of audio cuts, several of them, in fact. Dan Bongino, if you haven't listened to Dan Bongino, he has said repeatedly, and correctly so, that campaigns are sound bites and snapshots, or snapshots and sound bites. And we've had more of that in the last week, haven't we? That has done significant damage to the Harris campaign.
Snapshots and sound bites, man. I've said it over and over. Political campaigns are about pictures and small little sound clips of audio, video, it doesn't matter. Basically same thing. That's it. That's all they are. Think about it. Are you undecided? No, you are not. You knew who you were going to vote for 2.5 years ago when Donald Trump hinted at running again, okay? You are not the target at this point. The campaign is coming down to undecided, basically independents and moderate Republicans and Democrats. They will only be convinced, I'm telling you, by pictures and sound bites. That is it. That is it. They are obviously not that deeply involved in politics like we are. It's not an insult. It just is what it is.
Yeah, and during the first terrestrial hour of radio this morning, I said the same thing. If people are listening to my radio broadcast, first hour, to maybe hear something that might help them make up their minds. If a Mexican illegal, here since 2014, that Obama led into the country, who raped in Nassau County, Long Island, just arrested yesterday, a 5-year-old girl, if that doesn't convince you that we need Donald Trump in the Oval Office again, and nothing will. Here's Dan Bongino yesterday talking about what we need to do to execute, to seal the deal. My friends, if you think we've got this locked up, we don't. And thinking that way could really send us into a tailspin the last 4 days.
Who is winning the snapshots and sound bites war? At this point, you're a lunatic if you believe it's anyone other than Donald Trump. I feel good. I don't feel great. Someone said this morning, oh my gosh, conservatives are being doomers. We're not being doomers. I'm just telling you, if we don't execute, we can lose.
Yeah, and Big Cat says, Jake, the garbage outfit is great. Well, it's a government-approved DOT vest, Big Cat. Thank you very much. Now, I want to get to this next part, this next soundbite from Dan Bongino. And I played it earlier during the first hour of the terrestrial radio broadcast, but politics and marketing are part of each other. And if you don't understand the marketing aspect, and President Trump obviously does, I almost said Hillary, but Hillary, Kamala the Commie, they're interchangeable. There's no difference. They're both pushing the same totalitarian form of government for our country. But the fact of the matter is, Trump, as a businessman, understands marketing. He understands wearing a reflective vest. He understands getting in a garbage truck. He understands going to McDonald's and handing bags of food out to the drive-thru. He is a marketing genius, always has been. I'm not sure if you remember, you're perhaps from the New York metropolitan area, back in the 80s, maybe 90s. There was a boxer, and I'm trying to remember his name. He got into all sorts of trouble. And he was tremendous, one of the greatest boxers of all time. He got into trouble, a lot of personal problems. And he was taken advantage of by Don King and some other people. And then also what had taken place was that he had gotten in touch, or Donald Trump had gotten in touch with him, and Trump tried to help him. So not only was it good for Trump publicly to show he's trying to help somebody who was in obvious distress, the fact of the matter is that boxer, and again, I can't remember, I don't remember his name. I should, I don't. I'm not, big into boxing. But nevertheless, Trump knew how to get in the public eye, and so, hey, I'm trying to help this guy. I feel sorry for him.
Trump's biggest media own yet, the garbage truck at the rally with the vest, just absolute classic Donald J. Trump. I mean, you can't beat this guy for marketing. Marketing in politics is no different than marketing anywhere else. You're selling a product, that product is you.
That's about it. That product is you, and Trump has been able to sell his product better than anyone, my friends. That's it. So we'll see what happens 4 days from today, but the jobs numbers today, more violence on the part of illegals in this country, all the bad things hurled at Trump and his supporters by Harris surrogates. It certainly doesn't bode well for her 4 days from liftoff.
Here's a look at your Delmarva forecast. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times this afternoon. Daytime highs approaching 79. Westerly winds 10 to 15 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies again tonight. Lows level off around 48. Daytime highs approaching 64. Tomorrow, mainly clear. Highs around 63. Sunday, under mainly sunny skies. 69 Monday. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center, inland. Currently, it's 72 degrees.
Where Delmarva comes to talk, 92.7 and 98.5, WGMD. You're listening to WGMD, Delmarva's Choice, WGMD.
Broadcasting from the Lincicome Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Let's head on down to Shagrin Home Comfort Products and say hello to MJ Powell. MJ.
After 32 years of failed single-party rule, Delaware students have been left behind. Despite being among the most well-funded in the country, Delaware schools rank second to the last. For years, one party has thrown money at the problem without addressing the root cause. I'm Mike Ramone, and I know Delaware students deserve better. As a father and a grandfather, a coach and a mentor to young people, I know that ranking near last in education is unacceptable. That's why I will focus on reconfiguring our educational system, supporting our teachers, and getting more money into the classroom where it belongs. I will be the education governor. I have the experience needed to fix Delaware schools, to put students and teachers first, and set Delaware children up for success once more. It's time for big change, for a better future. Vote Mike Ramone for governor.
I'm Mike Ramone, and I approve this message.
This is the Rehoboth Foodie. I'm keeping Jazz Fest alive this Saturday, starting at 2 with Rehoboth's beloved diva, Pamela Stanley. She has a great story and will play a few of her most popular recordings. At 3, Sirius XM radio star and local broadcaster Cool Bobby B talks music and the influence of doo-wop on modern songs. Join me at 2 this Saturday here on WGMD 92.7 FM. Yep, it'll be a feast for the ears.
Early voting in Delaware is now underway through Sunday, November the 3rd. From October 30th through November the 3rd, early voting will be available from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. There are multiple locations where you can early vote in each county, including in Sussex County at the Laurel Fire Hall, the Department of Elections warehouse on Allen Street in Seaford, and at the Ellendale Fire Hall. For more information, go to thetalkofdelmarva.com.
The first 52 words of the U.S. Constitution introduces everything that is to follow in 7 articles and 27 amendments. They are intended to guarantee certain basic rights for American citizens. The 3 most important words are we the people. But do you think that our government has met our needs through the Constitution? If you're not sure, learn about the Convention of States movement to bring a strong, engaged army of self-governing people. Learn more at the community calendar under the Extras tab at thetalkofdelmarva.com.
Ron Ananian is the car doctor, and he learned his craft from his father. He'll help you find the best treatment for your car's little hiccups. And the big ones, too. Saturdays, 6 to 8 p.m. on the Talk of Delmarva, 92.7 WGMD.
Salute the Troops is safely brought to you by your local gun tender, Stuart Jones at Delmarva Law Enforcement Supply.
Salute the Troops remembers with honor a 31-year-old Marine veteran who worked for Pima County, Arizona on water reclamation projects and was murdered along the U.S.-Mexico border back on October 19th. Former President Trump was joined on stage at a Nevada rally last night by the family of the slain Marine veteran. Retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel Warren Douglas Ketz joined President Trump on stage and spoke about his son, Nicholas Douglas Ketz, the murdered United States Marine Corps veteran. The younger Ketz was shot and killed along the Caborca-Altar Highway in northern Mexico on October 19th, just 30 miles from the U.S.-Mexico border. Mexican officials reportedly said that Nicholas Ketz didn't stop at a cartel checkpoint, and a group of armed men followed his pickup truck and opened fire in what was called a direct attack. Trump gave his condolences to the family on stage, describing Ketz as a beautiful guy. He went on to say that if elected president, he would take on organized criminal groups in Mexico and achieve complete and total victory over these sadistic monsters. Salute the Troops honors the service to our nation of United States Marine Nicholas Douglas Ketz. If not for Ketz's service in the Corps, if not for his commitment to serve the public after serving the nation in the military, this nation could not. This nation would never have remained free. May this grateful nation never forget the name, Nicholas Douglas Ketz. Semper Fi, sir. For Salute the Troops, I'm Jake Smith.
As a family member or friend, you may be the first to notice when a veteran you love has been going through changes. Things like withdrawing, drinking more, or increased anger could be a sign of a larger health concern. but help is available. Listen to hundreds of inspiring stories at maketheconnection.net and learn how you can support the veterans in your life. Treatment works. Recovery is possible.
Broadcasting from the Meineke Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
The best mix of news, talk, and sports. 92.7 and 98.5. The Talk of Delmarva.